You're tuned into the stellar award-winning internet radio station.
You're at the right place at the right time.
Yes, Lord Radio.
Hold up. Wait just a minute. It's Roz on your radio.
Keep it locked right here.
Showcase, fellowship, inspire. Showcase.
Hey, it's Roz on the radio.
Showcase, fellowship, inspire.
Yes, Lord Radio.
Now it's time for another Yes, Lord Radio exclusive.
Hey everybody, it's Roz on the radio, and you're listening to another YLR exclusive. My guest today is gospel recording artist Chanel Haynes, formerly from the group Trin-i-Tee 5-7, who's sharing with us new music and more. But first, Chanel, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. We are so glad to have you. Now, before we get into the new music, I got to ask you, now you're a church girl. You grew up in the church. I understand you sang in the choir. You did all of that. Were these your absolute plans that you saw yourself doing when you were growing up to become a professional gospel singer?
Absolutely. Since I was 6 years old, I remember my first solo. The song was called He Touched Me, and I was too short for the congregation to see me.
Okay.
My audience was about 200 people, so my mom, she went and got a little chair for me to stand on behind the podium so that I could see everybody. And I remember she nodded at me to say, okay, you can start your song. And I started singing, and all I remember are applause and people smiling, and they were so happy. And I just looked over at my mom and I said, I like this.
And I want this some more.
Yes, I was bit by the bug very early on.
Wow. What was it like being a PK?
You know what? I would have to say overall, I'm very, very grateful because when you're a PK, you have this, pressure to be an example. Oh my gosh, that used to make me so frustrated when my dad would say, you're an example. I'm like, no, I'm 12.
Yes.
I'm not an example. I'm 12.
Right.
But, I think about kings and queens when they're raising their children and that the world is watching them.
Yes.
And so I thought to myself, well, I guess my parents see me as this very special human being, and there's a responsibility that will come with my great, purpose.
Yes.
And so I would just study, Prince William and, and his brother Harry, and, I'd say, oh, like these young prince and princesses, this is, the pressure of being royal. So I processed it that way. And overall, I'm grateful for my parents and what they've instilled in me.
Wonderful.
But it was not easy being a PK, no.
I know. I can just imagine. Now, was it pretty natural as far as getting into a singing career at such a young age? Did things kind of just fall into place for you, or who made that happen?
It's a combination of things. I think one of the absolute first things was that I knew that it was my purpose when I was 6, as we spoke about earlier. And I think when you know that, you have a drive that most people don't have because they're concerned. They don't really know.
Yes.
They're trying this, they're trying that. So I knew this was my path. And then, it was my total focus. So, for example, when I was about 12, 13, Quincy Jones had a show that he was starting in New Orleans. It was a pilot, and there was, oh my God, hundreds and hundreds of kids auditioning. And I think of about 1,700 kids. I was one of the 7 that he chose for this show. And again, all these little moments of, wow, maybe this is, there's something to this. And then he took my footage from his show and sent it to Star Search. And, a lot of people, kids today, they have no idea what Star Search is. But,
Right.
I just try to explain to them that, that was the equivalent of American Idol back then. And to be on that show was like, big. And so I took that footage and I gave it to Gospel Centric, where Kirk Franklin was the golden boy, and everybody wanted to be on that label. And they accepted me with open arms. And I was 19.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of my career as a gospel artist. So I think, that combination of things were, pretty monumental. And that kind of led me to a career in gospel.
And you knew that gospel music was the genre that you would find your career in?
Well, I'll say this. Growing up, I didn't have a choice, to be honest. My dad was like, okay, you want to sing, you're going to sing for God. I'm
Right.
like, okay, Dad, absolutely.
Okay.
Whatever, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then I saw and noticed throughout the years that people's lives were really being changed, and I was affecting them through my music. So then it became personal for me. But I have to say that I continue to change. I continue to evolve. And, God is the core of who I am in my music. However, I don't believe that one genre defines me, just like I don't think a box is what I belong in. Because God is not in a box. I mean, if you go to Dubai, most people have no idea who Chanel is, but they may know. If I sing a song at a hotel in some ballroom, and I just sing from their heart, they just feel something, and they know there's something there. So I think it's important to not box yourself into a genre so much as just connect and make sure that you're in tune with God's anointing. Because I do believe that there are people that are anointed by God that are not at church every Sunday morning, or, that are actually gospel artists or Christian artists. Perfect example is Bono of U2. I mean, this man is a total rock star who I adore because he's a doer. He's a doer. He is a humanitarian. He's doing what Jesus did. He's feeding the hungry. He's clothing the naked. And so I'm a little bit more focused on, doing what God wants me to do, not so much trying to focus on what people think I should do with my life, because life is too short to, try to.
Please, that's so important. That is so important that you said that right now. I know somebody got something from that, but that's so important. Talking about the changes, and speaking of what people expect you to do versus what you want to do, and what God wants you to do, and what makes you happy. There have been a lot of changes for you across the past years as we followed you. With the changes with the new Trin-i-Tee 5-7 going from 3 members to 2 members, and then you guys leaving the label, leaving Music World Gospel, and now you're solo. Tell us a little bit about what happened. Where was God pulling you, and just tell us your thoughts on that.
Again, you have to be in tune with God's voice. And when I say that, he reveals himself in so many ways, in signs. It could be, like when I look at my clock and I see 333, because 3 has just always been my number. And I mean, I'll just wake up randomly at 3:33 in the morning, and I know that it's God's trying to get my attention, like, what's on your heart? I need to focus on that. Just all kind of weird stuff. He gets my attention, And so I said that to say, every choice I've made, I've considered God all the major choices. I mean, I've done some stuff, whatever, like
Yeah.
whatever I felt like doing, and some of those were not so good of a decision. But ultimately, you know, when it went from 3 to 2 and then 2 to my solo career, every choice I made in transition, I felt like it was God leading. And even with Music World, I believe that when I signed with Music World, it was the absolute best career choice I could have made at that time. Just like being a solo artist, the best decision I can make for my career at this time.
Yes.
I'm saying that to say I think it's very important to be in tune and recognize when it's time for change, because change is not bad. I think people freak out with, you know, I love traditional whatever. I love tradition. I do. But tradition doesn't rule and reign over me. I'm also a child of change. I love to change stuff. I'm so random sometimes. Because, you know, and that's just who I am. If you hang out with me, you'll know, like, you don't know what I was going to do. What? She jumped out of a plane, you know. Like, I just, you know, just like to explore and experience life, all the colors of life.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's constant change. You have to be flexible, and that's the kind of person I am.
Yes. Awesome. And so now here you are in a solo career. Was it scary? How does it feel now?
You know, it's so weird. Whenever my mom says scary a lot, like she's like, "Oh, Chanel, I'm so scared because I know this is going to be huge for you," and I said, "Mom, you know what?" And it just came to me. I said, "I think every time you say scared, you actually mean excited." Because I do the same thing. I'm like, "Oh, I'm so scared. I don't know what to do." There's this nervous energy, but really it's excitement. And so I will say that I'm so excited all the time.
Awesome.
When any little progress happens, you know, somebody will call or send me an email that says, "You're the #1 most added gospel song on radio." And I'm like, what? You know, and it feels so new, even though I've been doing this for 17 years.
Yes.
But everything is new. I get in front of an audience now today, and I feel so vulnerable. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, everything feels so fresh and new. That's a very good sign. I never want to, you know, choose a career path and become desensitized.
Yes.
So you know, it's just so much fun for me. And yeah, it's been a great journey and very rewarding.
Awesome. Well, I am personally excited about the changes because I don't fear change either. So when I know there are a lot of people that are inflexible to change and they equate change to doom and gloom and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm really excited about these changes. Now, tell us about the single.
The single, okay, so I have 12 songs on my album, and each song title is just one word. So I had to decide, man, of all these one words, where do I want to launch out there and focus on and put out into the universe? And it's Believe. And this song for me was important because not just lyrically, but the whole vibe of the song is very, you know, kind of retro 70s vibe and gospel. So I'm very much a student of eras of, you know, not just genres, but the era.
Yes.
You know, 60s, 70s, 50s music. I wake up to that every morning. I would not lie to you. I have my vinyl. All I have is vinyl. So, like, yesterday, I listened to all Andre Crouch all day yesterday with my mom. And I said, "Mom, I have a surprise for you." And I brought my record, and she hadn't heard these songs since I was a little girl.
Wow.
So just imagine us in the lake house in the kitchen listening to Andre Crouch walking around, and she's like crying because she hasn't heard these songs since she was in her 20s. And then, and so I said that to say, Believe is a extension of that era of gospel, and the sounds are reminiscent of Andre Crouch, the Hawkins, Oh Happy Day. The vibe in those songs are insane. And I wanted to celebrate that very rich culture of gospel, that particular genre. We celebrate a lot of artists, but I wanted to focus on those. Sandra Crouch is one of my absolute favorite vocalists of all time. So yeah, believe, celebrate them, and the music that they put out there. So I figured if their songs are still lasting, maybe my song will last that long.
Amen. That's good. Now, the CD project, it's called Trin-i-Tee 5-7, according to Chanel. First, tell us about the significance of Trin-i-Tee 5-7 and how it has taken on a new meaning for you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, Trin-i-Tee 5-7 is like attached to me, like my arm is attached to me. It is a part of who I am. It's my part of my identity in the world. You know, I walk around and people are like, "Hi, Trin-i-Tee." I'm like, "Ma'am, you know my name is not Trin-i-Tee."
Right.
But it's so funny because that's part of my identity. It's just like, you know, if you see Jasmine Guy, you're like, "Hey, Whitney."
Exactly.
You know, it's never going to go away. So, and it's a huge compliment. I wanted to take that brand that Angel and I and Terry and Adrian, we worked so hard to create this brand. Well, now Angel and I own it. And I wanted to make the association for sure in my first record. People, no one knows, I won't say no one, but most of my fans, they don't know Chanel, they know Trin-i-Tee.
Yes.
So I thought it was important for them to hear my interpretation of, you know, the Trin-i-Tee music that I've created all these years.
Yes.
So that was kind of the mindset behind it, and yeah, that's what I did. I wanted them to hear my interpretation of my years in Trin-i-Tee.
Wonderful. Now, what can our listeners expect from this project?
You know, it might not sound like a super religious answer. I mean, I guess I can go with a very, you know, religious response to that, but I'll be very technical. So what you can expect is I've used vocal styles and textures in my voice that I've never used in my Trin-i-Tee years. So, you know, like if you listen to Chrisette Michele, that girl has one voice that sounds like Billie Holiday, one voice that sounds like Natalie Cole, one voice that is definitely Chrisette, you know.
Yeah.
And then there's like 4 or 5 voices she has. And, you know, she just put them all out there. Well, in my early years of Trin-i-Tee, I hadn't discovered all the tones and textures that I had. Over the years, on my own, at my house, when I'm doing whatever, I'm perfecting all these fun tones and textures. And so in my album, you can get a little Tina Turner. You'll get a little, I don't know, a little Billie Holiday. I'm very much a fan. A little Sandra Crouch, and of course Chanel. And so I don't know. It's just fun for me.
Awesome.
It's fun for me. And so yeah, I think you'll be surprised. You'll be like, "What kind of tone is that? Is that still Chanel thing?" And
is that Chanel?
So yeah, exactly. So it's gonna be great. I think they can expect a record that's very diverse, and you can tell that I had a ball in the studio.
Yes.
So it's all me. I wrote every single song. I directed the producer in terms of the stylistically, and I'm the executive producer of my first album. So.
Awesome. That's always great because I often talk with a lot of artists about the importance of keeping in mind business in the same aspect that you consider your ministry. And so many people fall short of the importance to be an executive producer. Tell them a little about that in case they still need to know about that. Tell us a little about that, Chanel, the importance of that.
I cannot stress enough the moment, because one day the light comes on that you've made everybody around you a millionaire and you're not one.
Yes.
So I was like, you know what? I'm really glad that, you know, people were blessed by my creation. But why am I not as blessed? That doesn't make sense to me. So largely that light come on a little sooner for guys, and then for girls in entertainment. So and generally women have a shorter lifespan in music than men. You know, if you look at the legendary singers, there are far more men than women at the very top. So if you want to be one of those people that have longevity, if you look at Tina Turner, if you look at Cher, you know, Gloria Estefan, if you look at those women, you know that they are in control. They have ownership.
Yes.
They are empowered. And if you want to, you can't just say, oh, I want to sound like this person. Okay, I mean, that sound is not going to necessarily ensure that you have longevity.
Yes.
Your business does. So if you have a combination of an incredibly unique voice and good business sense, and more importantly, in tune with God's voice, you're good.
Yes.
But you really, truly need all three. And so, you know, I wish I discovered that earlier, but it took me a little while to figure it out. So if anybody's listening to this interview and you're wondering, wow, what should I do? What's important? What should I focus on?
Yeah.
You know, as much attention as you give to your art, give to your business. It's equally important.
Yes.
And I can't stress it enough. And the sooner, the better. The sooner you figure this out, the better.
That's the business, guys, according to Chanel. I love it. Now, can we expect any ballots on this project? Because the reason why I ask is I'm a longtime fan of Trin-i-Tee 5-7, and I remember when me and my girls, we would sing Holy and Righteous, and so that's one of my songs still to this day. So,
my God.
Yes. Do you even remember that?
I remember. I haven't thought of that song in a long time, and it is a beautiful song.
It is. It's so sweet.
Yeah. There is a ballad. There's two or three actually. One of the songs is titled He, H-E. Another one is called Larry. It's just named after my dad because it's about his life as a child.
Okay.
And the third is called Masterful.
Okay.
So these particular songs, as I think about them, if I could describe them stylistically, the vibe is kind of like a India Arie kind of vibe. Just really rich and soulful. And the song about my dad, it's very pretty. I think you might. I mean, if you like Holy and Righteous, I think you'll like Larry, because the song actually, and I should tell this story in my interviews, and I forgot. When I heard the track was intended for a commercial. This producer I work with also writes for commercials, and he submitted this song for a coffee commercial.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, they didn't choose his song because, you know, there's a million submissions for, like, a big coffee commercial. But the melody, you know how coffee commercials in the morning just make the best part of waking up? Oh, it's in your cup. It's, like, so pretty, and, oh, I want to hold your cup, you know?
Yes.
So, anyway, he wrote this track that kind of had that vibe, and I was like, oh my God, this is so pretty. Can I buy it? I want this song for my record. Like, well, yeah, you can have it. So it has these beautiful, sweet melodies and has a little Simon and Garfunkel vibe. Again, I'm a 70s child. So if you imagine Simon and Garfunkel singing to a coffee commercial, then that is that song. I know that's so random, but it's so pretty. It's
I can't
really
wait.
Pretty. So, yeah.
I'm excited. I cannot wait to hear it. Now, when is the project out? When can we expect it? Is it already available now or what?
No. The tentative release date or time frame is February.
Okay.
So, the single should be available within a month.
Okay.
On iTunes. I just wanted to get up on the charts just a little higher.
Yeah.
And then I think I'll be ready to start selling the single. And yeah, so it's a process. It's so strange because I'm just so used to the label calling me and saying, okay, so here's what we're doing.
Right.
Well, guess what? Now I'm the label, and
and you're in control.
I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to release this here, and then we're going to, and one of the big things was the whole imaging. Oh, my gosh. Trinity 5-7 with our wardrobe and hairstylist and makeup. It was like 15 people with their thoughts of how we should look.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, that's a whole nother interview, my love.
I know. We never think about those things though, but you'll definitely have to come back and share that with us.
Yes. I will.
Awesome.
Yes. So.
Well, we got to get out of here. But anyway, before we do, of course, we're going to listen to your new single, Believe. And guys, of course, I want to know what you think about it. I know you've heard it. Share with us your comments by visiting us on the YLR Shout Box. Keep up with me on Facebook.com and Twitter.com/Roz on the radio. And for the recap of this show, of course, you can catch me at RozOnTheRadio.com. Chanel, let everybody know how they can stay connected to you.
Absolutely. First of all, I want y'all to know that I follow Yes Lord Radio on Twitter, which I think is so awesome. I think you guys are doing an incredible job.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. I'm also on Twitter, and it's simply Chanel's Voice. And on Facebook, I'm Chanel Rock. And also on Instagram. I love Instagram. It's so much it's so simple.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm on Instagram, and that's also Chanel_Rock. So yeah, check me out. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting me all these years in Trinity 5-7 for 17 years. And I'm just gonna keep creating great music for you.
Awesome. Well, guys, here's Chanel Haynes with her first single from her solo project, Trinity 5-7, according to Chanel, with Believe. Be blessed, guys. We'll see you next time.